Hello, and welcome back to the Easy Speak podcast. I am so happy you're here with us today.
Hey everyone, welcome back. If this is your first time listening, we are really glad you found us. And if you are a regular listener, thank you so much for coming back. It means a lot.
This podcast is made for people who want to improve their English in a natural way. We do not use textbooks here, we do not give grammar lessons. We just have real conversations, and we talk about things that matter in everyday life.
Exactly. We believe that the best way to learn English is to listen to it a lot, to hear how people actually speak, to pick up words and phrases in context. So every episode, we sit down together, we talk, and you listen and learn along the way.
And today we have a topic that I think is going to hit very close to home for a lot of people.
Oh, I think so too. This one is personal. This one is real.
Today we are asking one big question, and that question is this: are you wasting your time?
Just let that sit for a second. Are you wasting your time? Because I think most of us, if we are honest with ourselves, the answer is a little uncomfortable.
It really is. And we are not asking this question to make anyone feel bad. That is not what this is about. We are asking it because we think it is one of the most important questions a person can ask themselves.
Right. And it is not just about productivity. It is not just about being busy or working more. It is something much deeper than that. It is about how we spend our days, what we give our energy to, and whether the life we are living actually reflects what we truly care about.
That is a beautiful way to put it. It really is about alignment, whether the way you spend your time lines up with what matters to you.
And I feel like most of us have never actually stopped to think about this seriously. We just move through our days. We wake up, we check our phones, we go through the routine, and before we know it, the week is over.
And then the month, and then the year.
And then suddenly you look back and you think, where did the time go? And what did I actually do with it?
It is a strange feeling, a little sad even, but also a very motivating one if you let it be.
Totally. Okay, so let us start at the beginning. Let us talk about what it actually means to waste time. Because I do not think it is as simple as we think.
No, it is definitely not simple. And I think the first mistake people make is thinking that any moment that is not productive is wasted. That is not true.
Yes, that is a really important point right there. Resting is not wasting time. Spending time with people you love is not wasting time. Watching something you enjoy after a long day is not wasting time.
Right. Those things matter. Those things have value. They feed your energy, your relationships, your happiness. That is not waste. That is living.
So then what is wasting time? How do we define it?
I think wasting time means spending your time on things that do not serve you, things that do not bring you joy, things that do not build anything, things that you do not even choose consciously. You just fall into them.
Oh, that last part is so important. Things you fall into, not things you choose. Because there is a big difference between choosing to do something and just drifting into it without thinking.
Exactly. And I think that is where most time is actually lost, not in the big decisions, but in all the small, unconscious moments, the little drifts.
The scrolling, the clicking, the watching one more video when you meant to stop an hour ago.
Yes, all of that.
Okay, I want to pause here for a moment because we just used a word that I think is really useful for our listeners. The word drift or drifting.
Great word. To drift means to move slowly in a direction without planning to, like a boat on the water without anyone steering it. It just goes wherever the current takes it.
And in life, to drift means to let time pass without any real intention or direction. You are not choosing where you go. You are just going.
Right? And the opposite of drifting is being intentional, choosing deliberately, deciding where you want to go, and actually steering yourself there.
Intentional. I love that word. Let me give a simple example sentence. Instead of drifting through the weekend, she decided to be intentional about how she spent her Saturday.
Perfect. Intentional. It means done with purpose and thought, not by accident. And it is such an important concept when we talk about time.
It really is. So let us talk about this idea of drifting a little more. Because I think most of us drift more than we realize.
I think that is true. And part of the reason is that drifting is the path of least resistance. It is easy. It requires no effort. You just follow whatever is in front of you.
And our phones and our apps and our screens are very, very good at making drifting feel comfortable. They are designed that way.
They are. The technology is built to keep your attention, to pull you from one thing to the next, to make you feel like you are doing something interesting when actually you are not really doing anything at all.
I feel personally attacked right now.
I think we both do.
I was thinking about this recently. I had a whole afternoon to myself, and I sat down thinking, I am going to use this time well. I am going to read. Maybe go for a walk, work on something I have been putting off.
And what happened?
3 hours later, I had watched about 40 videos on topics I cannot even remember. And I had not done a single thing I planned.
And how did you feel after?
Honestly, empty. A little annoyed at myself, not rested, not happy, just kind of hollow.
That feeling is so common. And I think it is one of the clearest signs that you have wasted time. Not just that you did not complete a task, but that hollow feeling, that sense of having lost something without gaining anything in return.
Yes, that is a really good way to describe it. The exchange. What did I give and what did I get back?
Right. When you spend time on something that matters, even if it is just a quiet walk or a conversation with a friend, you feel something when it is over. You feel rested, or connected, or alive, or inspired.
But when you waste time, the feeling is the opposite. You feel drained, empty, sometimes a little guilty.
And that guilt is important to pay attention to, not to punish yourself, but as information. Your inner self is telling you something.
That is a healthy way to think about it. Guilt is information, not as punishment.
Exactly. Your feelings are signals. They are trying to tell you something. And if you feel hollow after spending time a certain way, your mind is saying, this is not what I needed. This is not what matters to me.
Okay, I want to bring up something that I think a lot of people struggle with, and that is the idea of busyness. Because a lot of us are very busy, but busy does not always mean productive, and it definitely does not mean we are spending our time well.
Oh, this is such an important distinction. Being busy and being effective are two very different things.
Can you explain that a little more?
Sure, you can fill your entire day with tasks, emails, meetings, errands, small jobs here and there, and at the end of the day, you feel completely exhausted. But when you look at what you actually accomplished, you realize you did not move forward in any meaningful way.
You were busy, but you were not actually building anything. You were not making progress on the things that matter most.
Right. And this is sometimes called being busy with the wrong things, or confusing movement with progress.
I love that. Movement versus progress. You can be moving all day long and not actually go anywhere important.
Exactly. Think about a hamster on a wheel, running very fast, very busy, but going nowhere.
And I feel like modern life is very good at putting us on that hamster wheel without us even realizing it.
It is. And the notifications, the messages, the demands on your attention, everything is urgent. Everything wants your time right now.
And when everything is urgent, nothing is truly important.
That is so well said. When you feel like everything is urgent, you lose the ability to see what actually matters. You react to everything instead of choosing what deserves your energy.
And that brings us back to intention. Being intentional means deciding before the day starts what actually matters today. What is worth my time and energy? And then protecting that.
Yes, protecting your time. I want to pause on that phrase because it is powerful. We talk about protecting our money, we protect our health, but very few people think about protecting their time.
And time is actually more valuable than money. Because money, if you lose it, you can sometimes earn it back. But time, once it is gone, it is gone.
Completely gone, you cannot get it back. Not a single second. And I think part of the reason we waste so much time is that we do not feel the weight of it. We think, I will do that tomorrow. I will start next week. I have time.
But do we? Do we actually know how much time we have?
We do not. None of us do. And that is both a scary thought and a clarifying one.
Clarifying. Let us explain that word because it is a great one.
Yes, to clarify means to make something clear, to remove the confusion. When something is clarifying, it helps you see the truth more clearly.
So, thinking about the fact that time is limited is clarifying because it helps us see what truly matters. It cuts through all the noise and shows us what is real.
Exactly. And I do not think this is meant to be depressing. I think the awareness of time, the real awareness, is one of the most motivating forces a person can have.
Because it makes every day feel meaningful. Every hour matters, every choice matters.
Yes, and it makes it easier to say no, to say, this does not deserve my time. This is not what I want to spend this one day on.
That is something I struggle with. Saying no to distractions, to things people ask of me, to my own habits that pull me away from what I actually want to do.
I think most people struggle with that, and it is connected to something very human: the desire to please others, the fear of missing out, the pull of comfort and familiar habits.
Let us talk about that fear of missing out, because I think it is a big reason why people waste time. They are not doing what they actually want to do. They are doing what they think they are supposed to do, or what everyone else is doing.
Yes, the fear of missing out, which many people call FOMO, is this constant feeling that something better is happening somewhere else. That if you are not connected, not scrolling, not watching, you might miss something important.
But the irony is that by always watching what everyone else is doing, you miss your own life.
That is so true. You are so focused on other people's experiences that you forget to actually live your own.
And social media is built on this. The whole system is designed to feed your FOMO. Look at what this person is doing. Look at this amazing trip. Look at this perfect life. And before you know it, you have spent an hour feeling bad about your own life while also learning nothing and doing nothing.
And feeling worse than when you started.
Exactly. So not only did you waste the time, but you also damaged your mood. That is a double loss.
It is. And I think awareness is the first step to changing this. Just noticing, just pausing and asking yourself, why am I here right now? Is this where I want to be? Is this what I want to be giving my attention to?
That pause, that small moment of awareness, it sounds so simple, but it is actually quite powerful.
It is. Because most of our time wasting happens automatically, without thought. The moment you bring thought to it, you have a choice.
And a choice is power. Without awareness, there is no choice. You just react. But with awareness, you can decide.
I want to share something that really changed how I think about time. And I think it might be helpful for our listeners too.
Please, yes.
There is an idea that some people talk about, which is imagining your life as a jar of marbles. Each marble represents 1 week of your life.
Oh, I have heard of this.
If you live to be 80 years old, that is about 4,160 weeks. 4,160 marbles.
That is actually not that many. When you say it like that, it sounds like a lot. But 4,000 in the form of a jar? That jar is not that big.
Exactly. And every week you take one marble out because that week is gone. It is done. And the jar gets a little smaller.
I find that both motivating and slightly terrifying.
It is meant to be honest, not scary. But the point is real. Time is a finite resource. And every week you give to distraction, to habits that do not serve you, to things you do not even enjoy, that is a marble gone.
A marble you're never getting back.
Right? And when you think of it that way, the question becomes very simple. Is this marble worth giving to this?
Is this week, this day, this hour worth giving to what I am doing right now?
Yes. And usually the honest answer changes your behavior, because when you ask that question clearly, you realize that so many things are not worth your marble.
I love this way of thinking. It is concrete. It is visual. It makes something abstract like time feel real and touchable.
And that is what we need, I think. Abstract ideas do not move us very much, but something visual, something we can imagine that can actually change how we feel and how we act.
Okay, let us shift the conversation a little. Because I want to talk about something that I think is often misunderstood, and that is the idea of productive rest. Because we said earlier that resting is not wasting time. But I think there is a difference between truly restful rest and what I call zombie mode.
Oh, zombie mode. Tell me about zombie mode.
Zombie mode is when you are not really resting and you are not really doing anything useful. You are just there, staring, consuming things without any real pleasure or purpose. Not asleep, not engaged, just switched off.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. It is like being present in body but absent in mind.
And that is different from real rest. Real rest is when you recharge, when you feel better after. A nap, a walk in nature, a good conversation, a meal with someone you care about, reading something you love. That is real rest.
That replenishes you. Let us explain that word. To replenish means to fill something back up, to restore what was lost, like refilling a bottle that was empty.
Good one. When you truly rest, you replenish your energy. You feel restored, like you have something to give again.
And zombie mode does the opposite. You feel just as empty when you stop as when you started, maybe even emptier.
Right. And the tricky thing is that zombie mode often feels easier in the moment than real rest, because real rest sometimes requires little effort. Getting up and going outside requires effort. Calling a friend requires effort. Even picking up a book requires more effort than just opening an app.
And we are often so tired and so overwhelmed that any effort at all feels like too much. So we take the path of least effort, and that path often leads to zombie mode.
And then we feel worse. And so we go back to the easy path again, and the cycle continues.
It is a cycle that many people are trapped in without realizing it. And I think the way out is not to force yourself to be productive. It is to gently introduce better habits, small ones, one at a time.
Yes, gradual change. Not overnight transformation. Not a complete life overhaul on Monday morning. Just one small, better choice today.
One small, better choice. I like that.
Let us talk about some of those small choices, because I think our listeners want practical things. Things they can actually do, not just inspiring words, but real actions.
Absolutely. And I think one of the most powerful small choices is what I call the 5 minute question. Before you sit down and reach for your phone or turn on the TV or open a new tab, you pause for 5 minutes and you ask yourself this: what do I actually want to do right now?
Not what is easiest, not what habit is pulling me, but what do I actually want?
Yes. And sometimes the answer is, I really do want to watch something and relax. And that is completely fine. But sometimes the answer surprises you. Sometimes you realize that actually I want to go outside, or I want to call my mom, or I want to write something, or I want to just sit quietly.
And you would never have known that if you had not paused to ask.
Right. The habit takes over so quickly. The pause is what creates space for a real choice.
Another small choice I think is powerful is having a morning anchor.
What do you mean by that?
A morning anchor is one thing you do in the morning. Before the day takes over, that is purely for you. Something intentional, something that centers you.
Like a ritual.
Yes, but it does not have to be complicated. For some people, it is 10 minutes of quiet. For some, it is a short walk. For some, it is writing a few sentences in a journal. For some, it is reading one page of a good book.
Something that says, this is my time. This belongs to me. Before the notifications, before the emails, before the demands, this moment is mine.
And starting the day that way changes the whole tone. You begin with intention, and intention tends to carry through the day.
It does. I notice a real difference in my days when I start with something intentional versus when I grab my phone the moment I wake up.
Oh, the phone first morning. We have all been there. You open your eyes, you reach for the phone. And before you even get out of bed, you have already reacted to 7 things and your mind is already scattered in 10 directions.
And then you spend the rest of the day trying to gather yourself, but you never quite do because you started in reaction mode, not in intention mode.
That is such a vivid way to describe it. Reaction mode versus intention mode. Starting the day scattered versus starting it centered.
And the difference can be just 15 minutes. 15 minutes in the morning where you do not look at your phone, where you belong to yourself.
That is such a simple shift, and yet so powerful.
Let us talk about something else that I think is very connected to this, and that is the idea of knowing your values. Because I believe that a lot of time is wasted, not because people are lazy, but because they are unclear. They do not know what they actually value most.
Yes, and if you do not know what matters to you, how can you know how to spend your time well?
You cannot. You are just guessing, or you are following other people's priorities instead of your own.
Can you give an example?
Sure, let us say someone says, I value my health. But if you look at how they actually spend their time, there is very little that reflects that. They sleep late, they eat poorly, they never move. The value is a word, but it is not lived.
The value is in the idea, not in the action.
Right. And there is nothing wrong with having values you have not yet fully lived. We all have those. The important thing is the gap. Noticing the gap between what you say matters and what you actually do with your time.
The gap between intention and action.
Yes, and closing that gap, even just a little, is one of the most meaningful things you can do with your life.
So, how do you figure out what you actually value? Not what you think you are supposed to value, but what you truly value.
I think one honest way is to look at where your time actually goes, not where you wish it went, where it actually goes. And that tells you what you have been valuing.
Ooh, that is a little uncomfortable.
It is, but it is honest. If you spend 3 hours a day on social media and 30 minutes with your family, well, your time is telling you something, whether you like it or not.
Right. The time does not lie. You can say family comes first all you want, but if your time does not reflect that, something is misaligned.
And again, this is not about guilt, it is about awareness, and then about choice. Once you see clearly, you can choose differently.
I think that is one of the themes running through this whole conversation. Awareness is the beginning of change. You cannot fix something you cannot see.
Exactly. Awareness first, then understanding, then small deliberate choices, then over time, real change.
Let us talk about something that I know is a big time trap for a lot of people, and that is perfectionism. Because I think perfectionism wastes an enormous amount of time in ways people do not always recognize.
Oh, absolutely. Perfectionism is one of the most socially acceptable forms of procrastination.
Say more about that.
Well, when someone is scrolling through social media, they know they are procrastinating. But when someone says, I am not going to start until I have the perfect plan, or I am not going to publish until it is just right, that feels responsible. It feels careful.
But it is still avoidance.
Yes, it is still choosing not to move forward, just with a better sounding reason.
And the perfectionistic voice is very clever. It always finds something that is not ready yet, something that needs one more revision, one more consideration.
And meanwhile, time passes, and the thing never gets done, or gets done so late that it barely matters anymore.
I have definitely lost whole months to this, thinking about things, planning things, revising things, and then realizing I had spent so much time preparing that I had almost no time left to actually do.
The planning stage can become a hiding place, a way to feel busy without taking the risks that come with actually doing.
Because doing is vulnerable. Once you do something, you can be judged, you can fail. But while you are still planning, you are safe.
And safety feels good. But safety does not grow anything. The growth happens in the doing, even when the doing is imperfect.
Especially when the doing is imperfect. Because imperfect action teaches you things that perfect planning never can.
That is a quote-worthy sentence right there.
Thank you. I will accept that.
Imperfect action teaches you things that perfect planning never can. I think that is so true. You learn by doing, you adjust as you go, you get better through the process.
And all that time spent waiting for perfect conditions is time you will never get back. The conditions are never going to be perfect. Life is not a perfect environment.
Never. There will always be something uncertain, something not quite ready, something still to figure out. And if you wait for perfect, you will wait forever.
So the answer is to start, even small, even messy, even unsure.
Start and adjust. Start and learn. Start and trust that you will figure it out as you go, because you will.
Okay, let us bring in something that I think our listeners will relate to deeply. And that is the feeling of being stuck. Because I think a lot of wasted time comes not from laziness or distraction. It comes from feeling stuck, not knowing what to do or where to go next.
Yes, And feeling stuck is deeply uncomfortable. And when we are uncomfortable, we tend to reach for escape, for distraction, for anything that makes the uncomfortable feeling go away temporarily.
Even if that thing does not solve anything.
Exactly. So scrolling becomes a way to not think about the thing you are stuck on. TV becomes a way to not face the decision you need to make. The busy work becomes a way to not do the real work.
And none of those things actually fix the stuckness. When you come back, the problem is still there. And now you have also lost the time.
And often you feel worse because now you have the original problem plus the guilt of having avoided it.
So, what do you do when you are stuck? Because I think just saying, do not distract yourself is not enough. You need something to replace it with.
Right. And I think the first thing to do is to understand why you are stuck. Because there are different kinds of stuck.
Like what?
Well, sometimes you are stuck because you are afraid. You know what to do, but the doing is scary, so you freeze.
That is the fear kind of stuck.
Yes. And the answer to fear stuck is usually just a small step, not the whole journey, just one small, concrete action. And that one step usually loosens the freeze.
It is like a door that is hard to open. You have to push a little. Just start the movement and then it opens.
Exactly. And then there's another kind of stuck, which is the clarity kind, where you genuinely do not know what you want or what to do. And that requires a different approach.
Not pushing forward, but pausing and listening.
Yes, sitting quietly, writing, talking to someone, going for a walk, giving yourself the space to hear your own thoughts.
Because sometimes the answer is there. You just cannot hear it through all the noise.
Yes. And we make so much noise in our own lives. We fill every quiet moment with sound and screens, and then we wonder why we feel confused.
Silence is where clarity lives. That is something I believe deeply.
Me too. I think silence is one of the most underused resources that any of us have, and it costs nothing.
Nothing at all. Just the willingness to sit with yourself for a few minutes without filling the space.
Which can feel very uncomfortable at first. We are not trained for it. Our whole environment is designed to keep us stimulated, to keep us consuming. The idea of just sitting quietly feels almost strange.
But that discomfort is worth going through. Because what comes out of the quiet can be very valuable.
Ideas, realizations, a sense of what you actually want, a feeling of peace, all of that lives in the quiet. But you have to go there to find it.
Okay, I want to shift gears slightly and talk about relationships and time. Because I think one of the most painful kinds of time wasting is when we look back and realize we did not give enough time to the people who mattered most to us.
Oh, this one is close to my heart. I think about this a lot.
And this is different from scrolling or zombie mode, because those are about what we are giving our time to. This is about who.
Yes, the who question. Who am I spending my time with? Who am I giving my attention and presence to?
And I think modern life makes this so hard. Because we are physically present with people, but mentally somewhere else.
At dinner, at gatherings with our families, our phones are on the table, our minds are elsewhere. We are there in body, but not in spirit.
And the people around us feel that. Even if they do not say it, they feel the half presence.
Children, especially, children are very sensitive to this. They know when their parent is truly with them and when their parent is there but absent. And it matters so much to them.
I think adults feel it too. We just do not always say it. But there is something so beautiful and so rare about someone who is fully present with you, who is not glancing at their phone, who is not distracted, who is just there completely with you.
It feels like a gift. Real presence is a gift.
And it is one we can give freely. It costs us nothing except our attention. And yet we guard it so fiercely from the people we love and give it so freely to our screens.
That is a hard truth.
It is. And I say this not to judge, I do it too. But being aware of it is important.
And I think small changes matter enormously here. A meal without phones, an hour in the evening where you are fully present with your family or your partner or your friend, a conversation where you actually listen, not just wait for your turn to speak.
Listening is a skill that I think we have lost a little. Real listening, deep listening, where you are not planning your reply, You are just receiving what the other person is giving you.
Yes. And when you truly listen to someone, they feel it. And it deepens the connection between you in a way that nothing else can.
Time given to real human connection is never wasted. Never. Even if nothing practical comes from it. Even if you just sit and talk and laugh, that is not wasted time.
That is life. That is some of the best of life.
I want to bring up one more thing before we move toward the end, and that is the relationship between time and learning. Because I think for many of our listeners, they are investing time right now in something that matters to them, learning English, growing, improving themselves, and I want to honor that. Ooh,
Yes, listening to this podcast right now in a language that is not your first language and trying to understand, to learn, to grow, that is not a waste of time. That is one of the best uses of time there is.
and I know that learning can sometimes feel slow. You listen and you think, am I actually getting better? Is this doing anything? And the progress is not always visible from day to day.
But it is happening. Every time you listen, your brain is working. Your ear is getting sharper. Words are becoming more familiar. Patterns are becoming more natural. It builds quietly.
Like a plant growing underground before you can see anything above the soil. The roots are growing, the growth is real, you just cannot see it yet.
And one day, you will be in a conversation and a word will come out of your mouth naturally. A phrase will appear without you searching for it. And you will realize, I know this. I actually know this. And that is the harvest of all the quiet, invisible growth.
I love that image. The harvest. What a powerful word.
The harvest comes, but only if you planted. And planting takes time and consistency and patience and trust that it is working even when you cannot see it.
So, if you are listening to this and you feel like your English is not improving fast enough, keep going, keep listening, keep planting. The harvest is coming.
It truly is.
Okay, I think we are getting close to the end of our conversation today, and I want to take a moment to bring everything together because we have covered so much ground.
We have. Let me try to walk through some of the key ideas we talked about today.
Please.
We started by asking the big question: are you wasting your time? And we said that wasting time is not about moments of rest or joy. It is about the unconscious, habitual patterns that take your time without giving anything back.
We talked about the difference between drifting and being intentional, and how most time is lost not in big dramatic choices, but in all the small, unconsidered moments.
We talked about how busyness and effectiveness are not the same thing. You can be very busy and still be going nowhere that matters. Movement is not the same as progress.
We talked about FOMO, the fear of missing out, and how chasing everyone else's experience through social media can cause you to miss your own life.
We talked about the difference between real rest and zombie mode, and how genuine rest replenishes you while zombie mode leaves you feeling hollow.
We talked about perfectionism as a form of procrastination, and how imperfect action teaches you far more than perfect planning ever can.
We talked about the different kinds of being stuck, and how sometimes the answer is to take a small step, and sometimes it is to sit quietly and listen to yourself.
We talked about presence, real presence with the people in your life, and how that kind of time given to human connection is never, ever wasted.
And we talked about learning, about the quiet growth that happens when you invest time in something that truly matters, like learning a new language.
And I think the thread that runs through all of it is this: you have a limited amount of time. It is finite and it is precious, and you have more power over how you spend it than you probably realize.
You are not powerless. You are not at the mercy of your habits or your phone or your environment. The moment you become aware, you have a choice, and a choice is everything.
Every single day is an opportunity to choose better. Not perfectly, but better. One marble at a time.
One marble at a time.
Now, we always like to end each episode with a question for our listeners, something to take with you, something to sit with.
And today the question is this: think about the last full week of your life. Where did most of your time actually go? And when you think about that honestly, does it match what you say you value most?
You do not have to answer it perfectly. You do not have to have it figured out. Just sit with the question. Be honest with yourself. and let whatever you discover be a gentle guide forward.
We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What came up for you when you thought about that question? What do you want to spend more time on? What do you want to spend less time on? Share with us. We always read your comments and we love hearing from you.
And if this conversation meant something to you today, please share it with someone who might need it. Someone who is feeling stuck. Someone who has been wondering if they are living in a way that really reflects who they are.
Because sometimes a simple question asked at the right moment can change everything.
It really can.
And on that note, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for giving your time to us today.
Honestly, we do not take that lightly. You could be doing so many things right now, and you chose to spend this time here, learning, listening, growing. We are truly grateful for that,
Keep listening, keep learning, keep asking good questions. Your English is getting stronger every single day, even when it does not feel like it.
especially when it does not feel like it.
See you in the next episode. Take care of yourselves.
Until next time, keep it easy, keep it real, and remember, your time is yours. Use it like it matters.
Because it does.
It really does. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.